What happens when virtual racing meets reality? That's exactly what I set out to discover with these two new sim racing wheels from ascher-racing. These are the first two offerings in a new lineup of 4 products, born from the collaboration between well-known names in sim racing hardware as well as real-life motorsports. ascher-racing, along with Renvale, experts in customized wiring solutions for motorsports, and the legendary McLaren, a name synonymous with racing greatness and high-performance road cars. The Artura GT4 represents McLaren Motorsports' latest race car, meticulously designed to dominate various GT4 series competitions. It boasts a featherweight carbon fiber chassis, cutting-edge aerodynamics, and a robust 585 brake horsepower 3-liter 6-cylinder engine. A standout feature inside the Artura GT4 is its steering wheel, which was developed and engineered by the collaborative efforts of Renvale and ascher-racing, joining forces to handle the logistical, electrical, mechanical, and electronic intricacies, resulting in a race-ready steering wheel tailored for the all-new McLaren Artura GT4 project. ascher-racing is globally recognized for its sim racing steering wheels. At the same time, Renvale holds a significant role in the world of customized wiring harness systems, boasting decades of experience in crafting solutions for motorsports. Their products have played a pivotal role in clinching an impressive 50 world titles across various racing categories including F1, FE, MotoGP, Le Mans, and WTCR. In this collaboration, the vision was to merge high-performance components from the realm of virtual motorsport with intricate real-world motorsport technology. The initial releases of the ascher-racing and McLaren Esports series wheels are on sale now, which include the Sport and Pro Simucube wireless versions, which I had the opportunity to evaluate here in the den. Now, to maintain complete transparency, it's important to note that ascher-racing provided these wheels for review purposes, and my time with them was limited before returning them to Ascher. This, however, has no bearing on the thoughts and opinions expressed in this review, as Ascher had no access to the review or any influence over its content before its release. In this review, I'm going to delve into several categories, covering aspects like build quality and design, key features and inputs, software and configuration, compatibility and mounting, and lastly, the overall performance, driving experience, and of course, immersion factor. The primary question I aim to address is whether these wheels set a new standard in the world of sim racing and real-world motorsport collaborations. Beyond the unique partnership and branding, I'll help you determine if either of these wheels should find a place in your collection or perhaps be the first wheel to pair with your shiny new Simucube wheelbase. Let's begin by discussing pricing so you can gauge whether these fit within your budget. Remember that prices may vary depending on whether you purchase directly from ascher-racing or your preferred retailer. The base Sport variant comes in at €839, while the upgraded Pro version with additional inputs and paddles will set you back €1,169, excluding shipping and additional taxes or duties depending on your location in the world, of course. This positions these wheels in the mid-tier to high-end market. The upcoming Ultimate version with an integrated display will likely come at a more premium price tag, although I currently lack pricing information at this time. When comparing these prices to Ascher's existing lineup, the popular F28 Simucube version is priced at €749, and the F64 with additional features costs €1,099. The question arises, are the new McLaren wheels worth the extra investment? I'll discuss some differences throughout this review, and this might not even be a question for die-hard McLaren fans given the branding and collaboration alone. But is it worth the additional expense for those seeking a quality high-performing sim racing wheel? I'll aim to provide you with enough information to decide that for yourself. The Sport and Pro models share many similarities in build quality, so I'm going to discuss them collectively. Both are crafted with exceptional attention to detail, featuring a sleek black anodized finish, precision machined from automotive-grade aluminum, and adorned with laser-engraved branding. The front plate sports a brush finish, while the paddle surface is glass bead blasted. Both wheels boast a 300mm diameter, with the Sport version weighing in at 1,300 grams and the Pro version slightly heavier at 1,520 grams. My initial impressions of these wheels was overwhelmingly positive. They exude a sense of premium craftsmanship consistent with the high standards that fans of ascher-racing products have come to expect. There are some notable design improvements, one of which is using laser-labeled button caps instead of printed or decal versions. This two-piece design allows for interchangeability, and the RGB illuminated push buttons shine through to display the specific input. I think this design choice enhances the overall look and feel of the wheels, surpassing stickers. The buttons also provide a satisfying tactile response. Turning our attention to the grips, you'll find well-crafted rubber grips that are soft to the touch and resilient, offering comfort even without using gloves. Grip preferences can be highly subjective, but I can attest that these grips were designed with real-life motorsports in mind, considering factors such as comfort, safety, and performance. They felt like a glove in my hand, with the area where my thumbs rested perfectly contoured for handling high-force feedback situations or during extended race sessions. If I were to provide a minor critique, it would be that the seam where the front and the back of the grips meets protrudes slightly more than on some other wheels in my collection. This was a bit noticeable when driving without gloves. Although it didn't become uncomfortable, for instance, the seam is virtually non-existent on the Grid MPX wheel, which I use frequently, and you barely feel it with bare hands. Nevertheless, compared to other wheels in my collection, these grips rank really high in terms of comfort and ergonomics. I only wish that seam were slightly less noticeable. Both wheels feature the latest Gen 6 magnetic paddle shifters, a new development by ascher-racing tailored for motorsport applications. These paddle shifters are machined and anodized from automotive-grade aluminum. Notably, they were free of any play thanks to the preloaded ball bearings. They offered a satisfying and precise snap action force. Furthermore, they are engineered for quiet operation, thanks to the rubber stops at both ends. I found them highly enjoyable due to their solid feel and minimal noise. While some may prefer a louder shifting sound, I lean towards a more noise-free experience. Instead of switches, these paddle shifters use durable Hall sensors. Overall, they exuded an exceptional build quality, and I'll delve into their performance and shifting experience a little bit later in this review. Now let's delve into both wheels' key and core features, with some overlap, but the Pro version is a bit more feature-rich than the base Sport model. Both wheels are based on the official McLaren Artura GT4 wheel, utilizing components identical to its real-life counterpart, albeit with optimized functionality for sim racing and esports applications. It's crucial to note that these wheels are designed exclusively for use with the Simucube 2 wireless wheelbases. If you don't own a Simucube 2 Sport, Pro, or Ultimate wheelbase, you're going to need to wait for the USB variants, which are slated for release in Q2 of 2024. The Sport and Pro versions feature the new magnetic and silence paddle shifters, offering an improved feel and noise reduction compared to the previous Ascher wheels. The Pro version adds clutch paddles and a double paddle shifter to map additional inputs. However, it's worth mentioning that you can retrofit single or double paddle shifters as well as clutch paddles to the Sport version at any time if you decide on an upgrade later. As previously mentioned, both wheels sport ergonomically improved rubber grips with identical designs on the Sport and Pro versions. You'll discover 14 RGB illuminated, high-quality automotive push buttons on the front, allowing for individually adjustable coloring with up to 16 million colors, as well as tactile feedback. Static lighting, brightness, and color profiles can be configured directly via the steering wheel or by using SimHub, a topic I'll delve in later in the review when we discuss setup and configuration. One important note is that lighting on the Simucube versions does not support telemetry-based lighting to react to in-game changes or data. This feature will only be available on the USB versions planned for release next year. Gone are the days of stickers on these Ascher wheels. Instead, they come with interchangeable and laser etch button caps. Each wheel includes 30 button caps with various symbols. Switching the button caps is easy but requires some minimal disassembly, thanks to the all-new two-piece design. I'll discuss this process later on in the review. Both versions also feature two multifunctional 7-way joysticks or funky switches, facilitating more precise adjustments for menus or black box navigation. Exclusive to the Pro version are 4 thumb encoders on either side of the wheel, enabling on-the-fly adjustments of car functions or controls during races. Additionally, the Pro models boast 2 extra 12-position rotary switches. These switches can change their operating mode through the switches on the rear of the wheel, allowing them to act as 12 individual outputs, or the shift mode, which enables them to change the output of the middle thumb encoders, a feature that I'll also dive into more detail later on in this video. If it wasn't clear by now, these particular wheels in the McLaren Esports series are wirelessly compatible with a Simucube 2 Sport, Pro, or Ultimate wheelbase. There are plans for USB versions of these same wheels along with the GT4 and Ultimate models set for release in Q2 of 2024. Pairing them with your Simucube wheelbase is pretty much as easy as it gets. It's simply a matter of flipping the switch and connecting via the Simucube TrueDrive software. For those familiar with this process on other wheels, you know how convenient and nice it is to enjoy a cable-free experience with extremely low latency. The only thing to keep in mind is that periodic charging of the wheels will be required. The average runtime without using the backlighting should give you up to 30 hours according to ascher-racing. However, when using the backlight, your mileage may vary depending on the colors and the brightness that you have set. Ascher mentions it will typically be around 15 and 30 hours with the backlight on in normal conditions, which pretty much aligned with my experience. Charging the wheels is done via the USB-C port on the rear, taking approximately 6 hours to charge from empty. Mounting the McLaren wheels to your Simucube wheelbase is pretty standard practice, thanks to the 6x70mm bolt pattern on the back of the wheels. Included in the box are M5x12mm stainless steel screws to attach your preferred quick release. I tend to favor using a hub to extend the QR from the wheel, as I've done here using some GSI hubs that I had on hand. Depending on your setup, you might want to consider a hub, as without it, the QR does sit close to the wheel since there's no built-in extension or hub included. As I mentioned earlier, the initial setup is pretty straightforward if you're already familiar with Simucube wireless compatible wheels. First, you switch on your Simucube wheelbase, then power on the wheel. If you have automatic connection mode enabled, the wheel will automatically connect. A successful connection is indicated by an LED on the front of the wheel blinking green 3 times. Simucube may also emit a beeping sound if you have audible notifications enabled. The steering wheel will then appear in the TrueDrive Overview tab. The wheel can also be connected using the paddle shifters if it's already switched on but has entered sleep mode. By pulling the shifters to connect immediately and to disconnect the wheel from the wheelbase, you can also pull both shifters for 5 seconds. The wheel will automatically disconnect after 1 hour of inactivity to conserve the battery life while in sleep mode. The Pro version comes already fitted with analog clutch paddles. They can be set as individual axes, for example throttle and brake, or as a combined axis in a dual clutch mode. Dead zones can also be calibrated within TrueDrive. Adjusting the clutch bite point can be done directly on the steering wheel by pushing the right joystick for 1 second to enter bite point mode. The right LED should light up orange to indicate that you've entered this mode. You can then adjust the bite point in 1% increments by turning the left joystick, or in 0.1% increments with the right one. Pushing the right joystick for 1 second will then exit the bite point mode. Exclusive to the Pro model are 2 12-position rotary switches, the behavior of which you can change. The first mode is 12-position, where each position is an individual input. The shift mode enables each rotary position to change the output of the middle thumb encoders on the corresponding side of the wheel, allowing you to adjust 12 different vehicle controls with one physical encoder. For example, position 1 could be ABS mode, position 2 traction control, and so on, with the corresponding left or right thumb encoder handling the actual adjustments of that control. This can be extremely useful for those wanting to use multiple controls while on the track. Another unique feature of these wheels being Simucube dedicated wheels is that the left joystick push button acts as a Simucube button, allowing you to change force feedback parameters on the fly. To enter this mode, you would push the left joystick button for 1 second, then select the parameter by pushing the joystick in a direction, up for overall strength, left for damping, and right for Simucube force reconstruction filter. The down direction currently does nothing, but it is listed as TBD in the user manual, so I'm not sure what this could control in the future. You can then increase or decrease the parameter by rotating the joystick encoder. Holding the direction for more than 2 seconds resets the parameter to the previous value. To exit the Simucube button mode, you simply have to push the left joystick for 1 second. On the rear side of the steering wheel, there is an LED on and off switch that toggles button illumination on and off. It's important to note that the battery life will be shorter when using backlighting compared to without. You can use this feature at any time, even while driving, to conserve energy while waiting for a race to start or during pit stops. The Adjust LED on-off switch changes the functionality of the default plus and minus push buttons. Or if you've changed those button caps, it's the second to last buttons on the bottom left and right. In the on position, those buttons can now be used to make changes on the fly. A short press will increase or decrease the overall LED brightness, while a long press will change the color profiles, which you can set up using SimHub, a topic that we'll cover next. Individual button color, brightness adjustments, and profile preset changes can be made using SimHub. The latest version of SimHub now includes the Sport and Pro steering wheels under the Devices section. To facilitate these changes via SimHub, the wheel must be temporarily connected via the provided USB-C cable, with both rear side switches in the on position. You can then adjust color and brightness by clicking the buttons on the displayed wheel, which will be saved to the steering wheel when disconnected. As mentioned previously, this also enables you to save different presets you can then switch between via the wheel later on when it's no longer connected. As I mentioned earlier, swapping out the button caps is possible but entails a bit of disassembly, so it's not something you'd likely want to do frequently. Here's how you can do it. You start by unmounting the joystick knobs using a 1.5mm Allen key. Then remove the surrounding button cover using a Torx key. Next, you'll unmount all the black screws and remove the cover. This will reveal the pull-out notches, which can then be accessed to remove the button caps. You'll need to insert the included removal tool into the notches and gently pull out the caps. After that, you would push in the new cap while paying attention to the symbol orientation. Then remount the cover and joystick knobs. It's not a particularly daunting process, but it's probably not something you'll do frequently once you're happy with your chosen configuration. However, if you tend to be indecisive about your buttons, this process could become tedious if done frequently. So how do these new McLaren wheels from ascher-racing perform out on the virtual track? Well, this aspect can be very subjective, as is often true with sim racing hardware products. However, I'll try to break down my overall impressions and what stood out to me. First, the 300mm diameter is a great size, suitable not only for real racing but also for sim racing. Those who prefer a larger wheel might not find these to their liking, but 300mm is the size you'd find in the real-life car as well as many other race cars. And it's that size for a reason. It offers easy handling and optimal control of the car. I'm already familiar and comfortable with this size, so it provided a pretty familiar driving experience for me. One thing that immediately stood out was how light that these wheels feel. This made me feel like I had more precise control over the car in the sim, and I could sense a lot more detail from the force feedback of my Simucube 2 Pro wheelbase. It was definitely noticeably enjoyable. The grips fit perfectly and contributed to a seamless and comfortable driving experience overall. The button placement is ideal and everything is within easy reach. As avid sim racers know, having two funky switches on either side is a very convenient feature, especially for those who like to make adjustments on the fly or navigate menus without a mouse. One of the most critical aspects I think of a sim racing wheel is the paddle shifters. A poor shifting experience can detract from the overall enjoyment and immersion, but in the case of these wheels, the paddle shifters were fantastic to use. Shifting was precise and solid. Every shift felt great with positive actuation. While they're not entirely noise-free, the noise is much quieter than my experience with other Ascher wheels and other wheels that I've tested. In my opinion, I think it's a good thing. However, if you prefer noisier, clacky shifters, this might leave you wanting more. In my opinion, these shifters are perfect. The clutch paddles on the Pro model are also really good. Although I don't use them very often, they do the job and are easily adjustable as analog inputs, allowing you to set them up as individual axes or combine axes for a dual clutch experience, as I mentioned earlier. Now, when it comes to immersion, these wheels genuinely feel like they're straight out of a race car, and essentially they are, which is a very cool factor. The McLaren branding might not matter to everyone, and the branding is quite subtle, so it wouldn't be odd using these wheels for any vehicle in the sim and break the immersion. Often collaboration wheels like these are exact replicas of their real-life counterparts, and are often much more expensive. However, in the case of the Artura Sport and Pro series, the goal of creating both wheels for real-life cars and optimized and still affordable for sim racing has proven to be very effective at meeting the needs of avid sim racers, in my opinion. These wheels have well thought out features and inputs and make excellent use of high quality components in a design that I find very good. In conclusion, I can easily recommend these wheels to any Simucube wheelbase owner. For those on other wheelbases, you'll have to wait until next year for the USB versions, but I believe it would be worth the wait. The improved buttons and paddles over current Ascher wheels and button plates is a welcome upgrade, and it feels like a next-gen ascher-racing product. I'm excited to see some of these features potentially make their way into future Ascher wheels, perhaps at a slightly lower price point without any co-branding. But hey, there's nothing wrong with having a McLaren wheel on your sim rig. Thank you for joining me for this review. As always, if you enjoyed the video or found it helpful, do me a favor and hit the thumbs up. It certainly helps recommend my content and grow the channel. If you've not already subscribed to the channel while you're down there, why not hit the subscribe button and the bell to be notified when I upload a new video. If you have any questions or feedback for me, don't hesitate to leave a comment below.